Tesla stock or Zoom stock?
Tesla stock for sure.
And why?
Not because I think that Tesla is the perfect company, of course, but I think that in the future they have great perspective, mostly in autonomous driving space, because they are the first one to implement the solution. They have the most data so far, and as you know, for any autonomous driving, any autonomous anything, you need data, and if you are the leader in data, then you have the best opportunity, I would say. That's why Tesla.
Special question, tailor-made for you. Joseph Stiglitz or Milton Friedman?
Whew. So I'm the firm believer in markets, to be honest, of course. But of course, markets are as good as the people can use it in a fair way, I would say. So in a way, I support that markets should define everything. But of course, when you reach a certain scale, there need to be some restrictions and maybe regulations and maybe additional taxes, as Stiglitz suggests. So maybe somewhere in between is the truth where we can lie. But especially for the smaller things, smaller niches, it should be as liberal as possible, I would say. But once you get to the big numbers, big players, then there should be some caps, because what we may not allow is to have someone who is too big to fail. Then there is a problem.
Overtime versus working on weekend?
Well, working a weekend, I would say.
Real estate, stock exchange, or crypto for investing?
Stock exchange.
Podcast or a book?
Podcast.
What's your favorite podcast?
So I have a couple of them that are from my niche, so Y Combinator has some, and also ones who are from the strategy, for example. I like to listen a lot.
Cool. And what's your favorite book?
Favorite book, for example, one of the latest thing I read is a platform business model. So explaining the business model around the new platforms. It is very interesting. But from here, I would say, I don't know, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. This is Chair, place where we discuss innovations. And today we are going to talk about interesting concept. Buy now, pay later. With me today at Chair Talks on this subject, I have a pleasure to welcome Misa Zivic, founder and CEO of Leanpay, London-based FinTech startup. Misa, pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for hosting me.
Explain to me your business model. Where is innovation there? And how are you disrupting the market, financial market?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would say that buy now, pay later now is an established niche in the financial sector for the last 3 to 5 years. There are numerous startups working in this field, of course. I would say that, for example, Klarna, Affirm are one of the most dominant ones, of course. Leanpay is in that space as well for a couple of years. We even started before Klarna became what it is today. And why this niche is important, I would say. So let's say that if you take all the banking products that are there on the market, most of them are not structured in the right way, meaning that people didn't need banking products. They need I don't know, TV, they need a furniture, they need a sofa, and then there are banking products that are helping you to buy this. It is a
like
credit
a support.
card. Yeah, like a support, auxiliary product, like a credit card or a cash loan, for example. So if you look on the market in this way, we can say that banking products are not satisfying the need of the customers in the right way, and we saw the gap there, and we saw an opportunity. So what we want to achieve on the market is to help any customer buy whatever they need at the time they need, in few seconds, easy, with fair terms, in any shop, in any channel. So this is what we want to achieve as a company, and we believe that we are on the right track. Now we are working here in the Southeastern Europe, which has much greater need and demand for the financing than the richer countries in the West, of course, because here the disposable income is much lower, so more people need financing to buy what they need.
You mentioned all the bank's products, different products of the banks. Tell me, what are the advantages and disadvantages when competing with banks?
So the number one advantage is agility, I would say, and speed, and understanding the technology and understand customer and how this technology can help them serve their needs better than with some traditional ways. This is number one. And then this agility comes from a different corporate government structure, different goals of the huge organization that need to be stable as a first priority versus small organization that can be fast, agile, and serve the customer as a first priority, not to be stable, let's say, in this case. So this is the first advantage. And then, of course, advantage for the banks, they have easier access to capital.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the number one advantage. But on the end, capital is now becoming more and more commodity, you know. So that's why their advantage is disappearing over time. And then much more important is this: how do you deploy technology to solve everyday problems of ordinary customers? For example, and in this space, technology companies are much more better because they know how to make those technologies, they know how to deploy to the customer, they know how to improve it, and they are very, let's say, okay taking maybe additional risks and having this try and fail way and methodology of creating new things.
And by your opinion, do the banks look at you as a competition or no?
So some banks, yes. If the bank is in our sector, of course, we are competitors. But some other banks are seeing us as opportunity to enter the sector we are serving, because our business model is such that we work with our partner banks that are helping us to provide the capital to the consumers to buy those things, to finance those installments, etc., etc.
So I'm coming to that part, and was very interesting to me that you guys just closed Series A, 3 million investment from South Central Ventures, and I congratulate you on that. Can you tell me how this influence and changes way you are doing business?
Yeah, so first, yes, we just closed the round. The lead investor was Lead Venture from Hungary, and then supported by South Central Ventures, who was our seed round investor as well. And this capital will help us now to enter two new markets, which is Hungary and Romania in 2022, of course, and to support the further growth in Slovenia and Croatia, where we are already present as such. But of course, this round means that we are now coming from a startup to a scale-up, which brings a lot of new challenges and, of course, issues to tackle, not just from the customer side, but from the internal organizational side, how we are going to work, how we are going to keep this agility, of course, but still to invest more in stability, to invest more in sustainability for the future, of course.
And what would you say are your biggest challenges from that perspective, with the growth moving from startup to scale-up?
So the number one, I would say, is for the leadership, because in startup, leadership, I would say, does a lot of operational work, you know. So myself and my other colleagues who are in the leadership team, we were very much involved in the daily operations, you know. And now we need to transfer this, to make a transition from this to be only leaders, you know, and to create this middle management level, and then to organize all the company processes, you know, to work in a proper way. So of course, this is the number one challenge for every scale-up, I would say.
And how about measuring results? Do you have some? There is many methodologies right now present. Do you are you planning to implement something internally? For example, like OKRs or things like that, or you're working with something completely different?
No, we are just in the process of establishing OKR system, of course,
Cool.
number one. But of course, for different part of organizations, there are different KPIs. For development, of course, it is one of the maybe most interesting challenges, of course, as you know, to establish the KPIs, to monitor how the engineering team works. Of course, for the sales, it is very straightforward. What are the KPIs and how we're going to measure? But on a higher level, for the leadership, OKR is something that we are now working on.
You mentioned a change in leadership. What is changing now with investment? Can you tell me about your role as a CEO? What this imposes? How your day-to-day work is going to change?
So it will change from more operational work to more communication, coordination about the leadership team, about the strategy, the vision, and bringing everything to work together smoothly as a one big team and going and have a bold focus and steering on objectives and milestones that we need to achieve, for example, this year, I would say.
And are you feeling in that new role, in those new shoes? Are you feeling well, or?
Yeah, it's a new challenge, of course. So it's additional motivation, of course, to succeed also in this step, because it is one of the must step you need to have in this evolution of a company, but also you as a professional, for example.
Tell me about the fintech ecosystem. We are talking about the challenges now. Maybe we can go to that part of the ecosystem. What are the biggest challenges in fintech?
So I would say that, of course, the biggest challenge was and will be the regulation, because the fintech is very different from other areas in IT, where you can easily make an application, put it in an app store, and then you can download it in any country, in any market. So actually the world is your market. Here in fintech, unfortunately, this is not the case, because it is heavily regulated industry. In order to provide the service in multiple jurisdictions, you usually need some adaptation, some changes. So it is much harder to scale across border than it is for other businesses,
Yeah.
So this is the number one challenge, of course. And the number two is what I said in the beginning: as you grow, you are more risk to the system, so more regulation and more questions will be asked to you as you are growing company.
So you are right now in how many markets?
In 2 markets, but one we just entered maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
So, and planning 2 new ones.
2 new, so we are going to be in 4 until the end of the year.
And how big is going to be that challenge of regulations from this perspective right now?
The biggest one, of course, it was the biggest question also from our investors who were to whom we were talking about the new investment, So that's why we are now also with new assets, we can have some help. We took one of the big fours to help us structure the regulation case in all the markets simultaneously, and it is a number one challenge for us to overcome.
So you mentioned 2 markets that you are right now present, but I would like you to tell me about differences. For example, here on Balkans, where are you present, and for example, U.S. market in terms of course, buy now, pay later model.
Yeah, sure. So the first and major difference is that in this part of the world, the need for financing is much greater. So because people have lower disposable income, and you need more availability of the financing to buy what you need. In US, it's more fashion now with the younger generation who are more cautious how they spend. They don't like to use bank physical credit cards with high interest rates. That's why they're allowing now Klarna, Affirm, because they can buy in 2 or 3 clicks on a mobile phone without any interest, for example. So this is the main difference, And now, because we emerged from those markets here, there is also a differentiation between us and, let's say, Klarna as a major player in this market. So they are more focused on FMCG fashion, and their average ticket because of this is some $120. And for us, our average ticket is some 550 euros, which is almost 5 times bigger than compared to Klarna. And we are more focused on consumer electronics, on furniture, on sports equipment, travel. So what you need maybe once or twice per year, we are there to help you financing this, So these are the main differences.
So with what I heard, there is a big opportunity for you guys on the big markets like USA, but I'm sure that how you're going to approach potential customers is going to be completely different than what you're doing right now.
Yeah, sure. So I would say that we have a differentiation, as I explained, even in buy now pay later, in these 2 sub niches. So for us, it is a completely different business model because there is a huge difference if you issue a loan $100 or 2,000 euros. How do you score the customer? How do you comply with the regulation? How do you secure funding? And how the whole business dynamics goes in this. So that's why, of course, we would have an opportunity in bigger markets. Now it depends on our strategy, where we can extract the biggest value from where we are now as a company, what we can, how much capital we can raise in future, and of course, are those the right approaches? This is a decision that will be upon us to decide in next 1 year, I would say.
So while we are still on the subject of customers, can you share with me some strategies and tactics that you use to engage more with them? Because more engagement means more business for you, right?
Yes. So I would say that the success of buy now, pay later is exactly engaging with the customers in a proper way compared to what the banks are doing. So we are in a B2B2C space, meaning that our initial customer is a merchant that integrates us as a payment method, and then the final customer is a client who uses us to pay for a TV over time, for example. And what was until now, banks were only focused on the last step in that journey, which is a checkout, either on online or at the cashier where you're buying something. You go there and then there is some process to get a loan, for example. What we are doing, Buy Now is doing, the purchase journey is much wider than a checkout. It starts with the need. So I need something like a new TV because old one is broken or there is actually new technology. Then there is a research phase where I will research what I can buy in which shop. And then there is a comparison stage where I will compare maybe 2 or 3 my best picks. And then there is a checkout in the end. So upon all these touch points in the customer purchase journey, we have a proper integration, a proper communication, how we explain them, how we can help them, how they can use our service, and actually why we are there actually, in a way. Because all those steps has different psychological state of mind of a customer. In the beginning, they're more relaxed, and on the end, there is a greater fear of regret, fear of, I don't know, budget, do I have a budget or not, etc., etc. That's why there are so many cart abandonment on the end of the process because of those fears. So if you don't manage those fears along this customer journey in a proper way, you will not convert him as your customer in the end. And actually, the biggest value of what Buy Now, Pay Later is providing to the shops is they're helping their customers to overcome those issues, and they're actually increasing the conversion rates in the end.
So based on what you just said, it's in your business, it's very important to educate the customers. How are you doing this? Are there some tools that are using, some approaches? Can you elaborate a bit on this?
So it is less education, more proper information, I would say, because they know what payment on installment is, of course. But if you provide the right information in the right way, for example, what we do, what tool we have, is a tool to check your limit, which we provide to the customer at the point of the browsing or comparison phase of the customer journey, where he's relaxed, saying, okay, now I have 3 TVs, I want to buy one of them, one is 500, the second one 750, the third one is 1000, and then we will provide you a tool, okay, please check your limit with a couple of clicks, few data points, in a matter of seconds, we will get you an answer which one you can afford. Then, because I am not still at the checkout, I easily do this. I get the information, and now I know which one I can buy. I know which one I can like. And then when I go to the checkout, it will be much bigger chance for me to actually finish the checkout as such.
While we're still on the subject of customers, I want to touch base on the product itself and how you decide what to do next product-wise. How you make the decision which new feature to launch, how to present it to the users. What is your approach in this area?
So it is a very complex approach, I would say, because you need to look it from many angles. Of course, one angle is the strategy of the company. Then the second angle is actually the patterns of the behavior of the customer, to understand it, so you can better understand their needs. And then based on everything, you decide how actually you will deploy new features and where to focus on, So I would say that the number one in our area is to understand the whole journey, how actually from the initiation, meaning once I need something, then to the checkout, every stage, and then to see how we can help customers to overcome this obstacle to come to the next stage. And then we see which feature will solve this. Of course, maybe we can test it, maybe we can research it, and maybe we can see even best practices, etc. What I find very useful, for example, is to have a general knowledge about other industries as well, and to understand what are the new business models in other industries, what are the new solutions in other industries, because maybe some solution and some model from another industry can actually help you solve the problem in the right way in your industry, for example. So as an entrepreneur, it is very important to be very, very informed what is happening in many different areas and many different industries to understand what are the new solutions and why actually they exist, because maybe you will find inspiration to solve your problem there.
And are you experimenting a lot, testing different things?
So to be honest, we can do more, but as you can imagine, as I said in the beginning, financial this is very regulated, so you cannot easily just test whatever you like. That's why it is very important to plan properly, to have a very diligent investigation, look for the strategy, research, etc., before you make some move here.
And does that influence your speed of delivery?
If we are compared to non-fintech companies, yes, but if we are compared to the fintech companies, no, because there are fintech, as I said, as an industry is constrained with the regulation and compliance, so you can only go in those boundaries, so you cannot go above this.
That sounds a bit frustrating, but on the other hand, if it gives you framework where to work on and where to swim, so to speak, maybe that can be useful if you are used to working that kind of way.
Yeah, but for many, it's an obstacle, but also it can be opportunity, of course, because it also depends how do you understand those constraints, because banks, they are taking very conservative approach in understanding those constraints, but in reality, it is not as such, and in reality, not so many things are defined, and usually if it is a proper legal system, everything what is not forbidden is allowed, and this is actually the area where you can actually explore, so no one first invented credit cards from the regulation standpoint, and then there was a product. First there was a product because there was no regulation about credit cards, and then regulator said, okay, we need to regulate this, and then the credit cards were regulated. So in any new product, there is a lot of space where you can actually have a freedom to understand those constraints in a proper way. And actually, we took a freedom in this in a couple of cases, and we succeeded. And this is actually the main differentiation in the market we're doing compared to the banks. For example, in KYC process, there are many hacks that you can do actually to be compliant and then again to be very innovative.
So you're in a fintech domain for a long time now, right?
Yeah.
And there is always that question around crypto. And I want to hear from your side, how is influencing fintech domain?
So it has a huge influence, I would say, of course, because it's a huge hype around it. So it has also positive but also negative influence, I can say, because some things about crypto potentially could be very good, of course, if they live up to have some added value for the ordinary customer. But of course, there are many speculations and many not so good things about crypto that are actually maybe jeopardizing even some trust in fintech as such, So there are two sides, From my perspective, I believe that solutions needs to help people, ordinary people, and they don't need to invest a lot in understanding it, getting to know, etc., etc. So if crypto would have some positive influence to the customers, then of course, yes, we can use it. But now this is the question.
And do you have any plans, ideas that you enter this, or no?
So to connect to the previous answers, now it depends in what additional value will those new technology will bring to our users. if the only additional value is to be DeFi in decentralized, then there is no huge additional value to the customers because ordinary customer doesn't understand this concept. What our customer need is to get additional financing in a couple of seconds in any shop, as I said in the beginning.
So they don't care what's going on.
Yeah, in the backend, for the ordinary customer, they don't care. This is a very similar discussion, I would say, maybe like 25, 30 years ago between Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniacki, because one was saying it is very important what is happening in the back, and then because it's cool for a tech guy, but then the other says, no, but who cares about it, I need one button to press and that's it, it need to work. How it's designed behind, no one cares. For me, as I said in the beginning, the innovation needs to have a real value, additional value in solving a problem in more efficient way for a customer. So are we going to use it? Depends. If we find a use case which will help us, of course we are going to use it. But we are not going to use it just because it's very hype.
Let's talk about the future of the buy now, pay later model. Where is this market going and where Leanpay is going?
I think that it's a very bullish market to be, and it's going to be even more bullish in the future. I would say that probably one of the reasons is of the huge success of the global companies like Klarna, because they are actually establishing the market. Of course, we are establishing in our small markets, and we can find our space in this new market that is being created. But as I said in the beginning, the technology company in this space are much better in recognizing what the customer needs, and we are delivering a better value to our customer. And I would say today that the latest research shows that in the most developed markets like UK and US, more than 35% of the millennial generation are using buy now, pay later. I would assume that 5 to 10 years from now, it will go to 70% of total users that are going to use this. So it is going fundamentally to change the landscape of financing. And all the fintech companies are aiming to create a super app. This is that's game meant for everyone. But I would say that the buy now, pay later has the best opportunity to actually create one. And actually the Klarna is a very good position to be the first super app, I would say, with real value to the customers, because what they do, how they make now their acquisitions, for example, what new features they are delivering, you can easily see they're going to that direction, and you can see that they understand the customers very well, I would say. So in some way, especially about e-commerce, Amazon did a lot in past to contribute to the development of the e-commerce, but as in any case in the history, now they are doing vice versa, because they are now so huge, so small retailer doesn't have any chance against them. They are taking the soul of the small retailers that are selling on them. And I would say that Klarna is opportunity, and we are opportunity, for example, here, not just for the customers, but also for the small retailers, because if you have a super app, then the marketplace is not so important, I would say. And maybe this is a chance for them to fight the big ones, So there is a lot of things that is going to happen, and a lot of things how buy now, pay later will create ecosystems that actually will bring value to customers, small businesses, but also in the big ones in the end,
And for the from the Leanpay endgame?
Yeah, I would say that we aim to be the best digital credit institution in the Southeast Europe. I would say this is the number one thing to be. And then, of course, we will see how it's going to develop. Can we bring the value that we are providing here to maybe some other Western countries? It depends. But we aim to excel in how we understand credit and how we will deploy credit to the customers.
And hopefully we will see that very soon.
Yeah.
Misha, thank you so much for this conversation. I enjoyed it. And for you out there, see you next Thursday about some new innovations, new chair talk. Subscribe, of course. And that's it for today.
Thank you.